My hope is that with everything that we've seen these last few days, that we come to a point where we can engage in intellectual honesty in video game discourse. It is very important that everybody puts their head down, seek out what the evidence is telling us, and at least come to what I think is sound conclusions whenever we're having these conversations. I also hope that we'll, for the most part, put aside the pedantic console warring nonsense that's here to basically benefit people who want to get your super chats and your donations and understand where you should be actually putting that money and where you should be investing in your entertainment in respect to video games. This video, I want to go ahead and take an inventory. It's an inventory that has been beating the drum for the last few years about live services and what they were doing to the gaming industry. So I've gone into my YouTube content area, I search the word service, and I see that altogether there's at least 30 plus videos here talking about games as a service, live service, some of them from Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, but in the more recent months, it's mainly been about PlayStation and their live service approach. It also covers Xbox, who has a huge stake in the live services market, and the data at the end of the day shows everybody right now that this live service run is pretty much where many publishers are setting their sights on. When I look at my live service content relating to PlayStation, one video stands out to me, made June 1st, 2023. In this video, I titled it, Spider-Man fans indirectly benefit from live service games. This is not news, this is something that we already knew. And back then, I was also talking about the number of live service games that PlayStation was trying to put out. In fact, I commended it. I actually was cheering it on. But what's funny is a lot of people in the gaming industry seem to be somewhat surprised. How could this have taken all these people on the internet by storm? Why are they all somewhat, perplexed that PlayStation would try to use its own IPs to nail down a live service game? Well, I'm not saying that the people who are all posting are truly genuinely surprised. I think for the most part, they're more surprised by the individual IPs that were selected based on the announcements of the cancellations. For example, Jwood 2010 said, let me understand this correctly. Sony acquired Bluepoint after years of excellent remakes, shifted them to a live service game for God of War out of all games, and 3, cancel it. Make it make sense. Now, Jwood, this is not supposed to surprise you, but I can understand how God of War is a little surprising because that's not a franchise that you would have thought, or any of us, even I myself would have thought, would surprise me in this regard. But again, the reason I started out this video talking about the live service take is simply because just a few months ago or a few years ago, I, as a DC video games fan in the Batman universe and such, was also a victim of such a surprise that Warner Brothers would take the Arkhamverse and go make Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, a potential live service game, out of it. So seeing Sony do that is something that basically makes me go, I can see how they can take something like that and attempt it. And you know what? They saw it through. Like Warner Brothers actually did see it through, which is crazy because again, this has been mitigated by a cancellation. Can you imagine if this stuff actually did make its way to the market, what that would have actually done to the franchise, to the brand, and make it look weird? If you want to know what that would look like, simply go look at what happened with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Another video that I made basically said exclusivity is dead as publishers seek cash flows. This was a video that not a lot of people watched. I mean, back then, what was it, March of 2024? I wasn't even putting out as many videos as I do now, but as I started to see the conversation make, what I thought was like a little bit of like headway, I thought, what? Some people were straight up lying. In fact, some people were bothering me. They were all over my case. Like, one of my audience members, longtime audience member, Sir Jiggery Pokery, said, PlayStation is going to lean on third-party exclusives. As Xbox players buy fewer and fewer games, the cost to obtain an exclusive for PlayStation is going to go down as well. Probably why there are 10 this year alone. What does Sony care who owns COD? As long as they get it day one on their system, they don't make any less. I said PC players have the sales covered. This is for Xbox games and for PlayStation games. Game Pass is pressure on competition and an alternate income stream. With Xbox ecosystem, money is coming in from everywhere. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, y'all told me this. Another person told me 10 months ago. Are you seeing it? This is the receipt. I told y'all that the receipts are here. I don't have to do anything. This person said, I guess you missed Sean Layden's interview today where he basically said that day and date with PC is not worth it, but carry on. I hope you saw Shuhei Yoshida tell you that, remasters on PC need to go out there and be patronized by PlayStation fans so that they can garner money to make these single player games. This is exactly the problem that we've had. I came here to do this inventory because for the past few months, I've been trying to sound the warnings as to where the industry was going to, as to what was going on in regard to all of this. And believe you me, a lot of PlayStation fans that were in the conversation continued to drag, even when I provided data sets, even though when I went ahead and said to, everyone, brace yourself, like in this video that I made, more live services games incoming. Now, again, this is not something that is very popular with a lot of folks. So somebody said to me, and they replied, 501, Helldivers did okay. In reality, it's the fastest selling PlayStation Studios game of all time and still averages over 40,000 people. You saw her sit on a throne of lies. Oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Goodness, I apologize. Apparently, now that we have more context, Helldivers 2 did better than Marvel Spider-Man 2. Oh my goodness. Well, PlayStation fans did not celebrate that. It appears that the platform and the platform holders have basically left you in the dust. I told you that they would do what was convenient for them. I told you they'd do what was financially expedient for them, but many of you did not listen. And I think this inventory, in my opinion, is probably the way that I can go back and say, in the future, we probably need to get to the point where we pay very close attention to what's going on. Helldivers 2 has not only basically been one of the top-selling games, of which it was one of the top-selling games on PC, get out of here with that, it is now going to signal to PlayStation exactly what they need to do. And they're already doing it. They're already bringing games to PC day one. You see, this was the shift that I've been telling you all about. In fact, now that we've seen The Emperor Has No Clothes, the media has been clearly lying. It's now much easier for us to basically roll out what we've been saying for months on, telling people that, hey, by the way, PlayStation is looking for cash where they can get it. The 30% that all have been yelling about that makes PlayStation just rich for doing nothing with no risk, it ain't enough to cover operating costs. It ain't enough to cover the console sold at a subsidy. It ain't enough to cover hardware that's also sold, in a sense, in some cases at a subsidy. And PlayStation needs to maintain infrastructure. And it's also not enough to develop these very expensive single-player $300 million games that are only locked to PlayStation, an ecosystem where more people are playing live service games overall. I also remember somebody who constantly is on my case, telling me that I'm constantly lying and doing all this, who said that Matt Piscatella's data sets were wrong. I remember this person insulting the gentleman, because for some strange reason, this is the, so-called weapon of the hyper PlayStation fan. Well, I hope that you can basically eat crow wherever you are and had been making those statements, because now you can already see, and we can already see, that all of that so-called posturing has now been exposed to be fugazi. Now, I know that video was a little scathing in this regard, but I wish to make a point to call into attention the conversation back to sensibility. A little bit of a scathing remark here and there is designed to pour what I think is a little bit more eyes and shine more light to the elements across the corners of the internet that continue to foment lies and try to put deceit and doubt reality. If we look at the gaming industry from an objective perspective, there is something very interesting that you're going to see. PlayStation has work to do. Have y'all remembered, or have y'all forgotten that I say this all the time? That PlayStation has work to do, a lot of work to do. This is not going to be an easy transition for them. Their competitor went from zero to domination in content, of which at the end of the day, content was always king, not hardware sales, proven by the PC market in many cases, proven by mobile and those who have been benefiting from it, and also proven by what the console industry looks like. Most of the biggest winners are not hardware dealers. Like everyone is here yelling and talking about GTA 6. And I'm laughing, going, really? PlayStation has to, who's touted hardware sales this whole generation, has to now sit there and say, hopefully, that the software sales are going to come in here and bail us out. Let some common sense reign and let it never stop raining. Talk to me in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Peace out.